lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio.
And here's your host, Miss Kim Robinson.
Happy Saturday, and thank you for joining Next Level with Trenace. I am so happy that you are spending 60 minutes, give or take, of your 1,440 minutes of your Saturday with me. Today's super special guest, because, I love giving you guys something next level, some new person, some new thing, some new business. And I have a special heart for creatives because, I'm a creative myself. So today's guest is Dr. Sarah Jeffries. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Sarah.
How are you? This is.
There you go. Hey, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me all right?
I certainly can. Thank you so much for joining me. Share a little bit of your ooey gooey goodness with my listeners today.
A little bit of my ooey gooey goodness. Well, I am an author, an editor, and a writing coach. I am a single mama of 2 teenage girls. I am super grateful to be here. I am the CEO of a business called Right Now, which is a writing consultant business. I also lead creative writing workshops, and I do speaking engagements. And with the consulting, I work with people who are interested in any part of the writing process, whether they want to write poetry or memoirs or fiction, or they're trying to finish their dissertation, or, they have a book in their drawer and they're like, oh, man, I really meant to finish this by the end of 2020, and now I'm in the 4th quarter and I don't even know what happened. I need to get on that. I also do a lot. I just finished a creative writing workshop on memory. I'm really interested in helping people find their writer within and coaching them to their next best sentence. And then I do poetry readings and speaking engagements where I talk to, mostly I've worked with high school students and higher ed students to imagine the possibility of writing as a method to heal trauma, and writing as a healing modality, particularly for women who have survived, but men too, but most of the work that I've done is with women who have survived sexual assault. So I'm super happy to be here and talk to you as well. I'm interested in your creative work.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll share this with you, but most of my listeners actually know I'm a published author of 5 books. I knew since I was in the 3rd grade that I was going to be a writer and I was going to travel. And I renewed my passion at the 2013 when I released my first book. So creativity for me, it is definitely a healing. It's a way to talk out those things that are in your head, get those thoughts out. And you sometimes find that you are not the only one who has those thoughts or shares those same feelings.
Yeah. And I think some people that I've met are really nervous or worried about writing some of those feelings down, or they're anxious that they might feel them again, or they might feel them more intensely. And one of the things that I do with people is something called reflective journal writing, which is a bunch of different writing exercises that really help people either in like workshop or client space, that really help people ask critical inquiry questions to shift their relationship to those feelings and memory. So some of that's NLP, like neuro-linguistic programming, to reshape their relationship to the memory. And what I found is that most people, when they're willing to be brave and courageous and write out some of the stories or feelings that they've been struggling with, that they really can move from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. They can really move through the memory and move forward in their lives, which makes me always like super excited. So yeah, that's some of what I do when I work with people.
So it's funny that you mentioned 2020 and people just deciding, because this pandemic, I like to say that it's just been, some people are trying to cancel it. For me, it's been supercalifragilisticexpialidocious for me. I've done so many things with this COVID-19 that I wouldn't have had the opportunity before. It's been an opportunity for me to branch out and do things that I've always wanted to do, but didn't have the opportunity because I was busy doing work. As many of us are, we don't have the opportunity to live in our gift, to live in our thoughts, to live in our feelings. But now, COVID-19, it didn't only close down our city, our state, our country, but it shut down our entire world, and it allowed us to be return back to gratefulness, because that, for me, that's what that returned me to. It returned me to when I would leave the house, I would go out the house and go to work and come back home and let my little dog out. And day one that they told us to come home, well, the 23rd of March, when that was my last day at work. The next day I woke up, slept late, let my little dog out, and that was the first time I noticed how green the grass had actually been. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Can you imagine something like that? Yeah. We miss so many opportunities of life, and for me, being a creative is life.
Mhm.
Have you had a lot of new writing projects since the COVID-19?
I have, actually. You know, I think that I love what you said about the grass, because suddenly you see differently when you move slower or more particularly, right? And I also love what you said about gratitude. You know, I have a gratitude practice with 3 friends who are all in Carolina and Virginia and Tennessee, and every day we text something that we are grateful for. And, you know, I will be totally honest. Some days it's like, I don't know what I'm grateful for. I have 2 children that I need to feed and make sure they are online for school, and I want to do this project. And, like, you know, gratitude for me is a practice. But the more I did it, the more I could find what I was grateful for. And then, this is like the crazy magic, the more I said what I was grateful for, like, I'm grateful for my health, or I'm grateful for money to pay the bills, or I'm grateful for money to get my daughter a wetsuit, more money would appear. There's this space of gratitude that it like opens things up. And so I got very particular and intentional in my gratitude practice. And I would say things like, I'm grateful for the charge that my friend gave me out of the garden and the balsamic vinegar to saute it with for dinner when I didn't know what I was going to make for dinner again, right?
Right.
So I completely agree that the gratitude practice that many people, I think, have started in 2020 is essential to the creative spirit and essential to keeping ourselves sane in the middle of this pandemic, right? Because everyone is, not everyone, but I would say a lot of people are grieving the lives that they had. They are grieving the spaces they used to inhabit. And whether it's a house that is burned down in California, or a job that is lost, or a family member that is lost in the daily mindset of most of the world right now. And how we respond to that loss, whether it is poetry or music or narrative or a gratitude practice, is incredibly important. 2020 for me changed my relationship to loss. I'd had many, many losses before, but I hadn't really related to them and understood that each one of them was quite powerful for my artistic practice.
Good. That is really, really. I mean, that when I was listening, I had never thought about that because when this started for me, I was like, huh, I'll be at home. I work a government job, not a regular
Yeah.
job, just a government job. And government jobs are kind of different. Everybody wants to have one until you're working one, and then when you realize their advantages and the disadvantages, and the disadvantages are one that I'm still feeling right now, this moment. We stayed out of work for 2 months, and they
Wow.
told us to come back. We worked 4 days, and I got a phone call Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Said, Trenace, don't come back until I call you. And I said, in typical me, oh, okay. Well, there are 3 people that are ill. I say, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That meant I turned my alarm off and slept late. That's what that meant for me. And we didn't go back. And but they provided for a way for us to be able to work from home, literally. I have my work phone at my dining room office. I have my software connected to my computer, and it's a joy for me. It's a joy because I'm burning incense and candles all day. I get I have fresh flowers that I have every other week, and these are things that I wouldn't have done had my life not changed. So for me, I appreciate the fact that I can do this, but when I go to break, I can let my little dog out. I can I can do the things like I were at home except for that work stuff.
Right. And even in that, I know lots of my friends who are creatives and mamas and trying to work at the same time. You know, I think women are really doing a lot of the work at home and workforce work and feeling pulled. And sometimes the creative energy or the creative spirit is hard to attend to when one has work, children, and household duties, right? And so if I could say anything to your listeners, besides the practice of gratitude and really the discipline of gratitude, it is that they could steal 20 minutes to honor their creative spirit in the day, or mark out 15 minutes to do their creative practice every day. Because really the creative spirit and creative energy for me has been the lifeline as a single mama, as a widow, as someone who is so excited about her writing clients, but also like super excited about my poetry work and my novel and, you know, creative projects that I'm thinking about.
Divorce. Well, the export.
That is, I would definitely agree with the creative energy that's now, we can receive the creative energy because energy is actually an exchange. And because we have more time to feel the exchange because we're not, as I call, living a lifestyle of zombie, leaving out the house, taking the same route to work, going to the same spot for lunch, wearing the same type of clothes to work, dropping the kids off at their regular spots. We're not living like little zombies anymore. Our creativity, we're at a all-time high. There are so many people that are starting businesses, writing books, learning the people in their household again, which has been a big thing for a lot of people because a lot of us are living with people and now we're in the house with them and like, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. No, I agree. There's something really beautiful about the online education with my daughters is that they have the same lunchtime break. And so in the morning I get kind of excited to think about, okay, we're all going to sit at the table, even if it's a half an hour together without screens, and to either talk about what they just learned in school or having a question about it or what poem I might be working on, but we get that middle of the day break. And before, they might go to school at 7:30 or 8, and I wouldn't see them for 12 hours, right? And I would be like, where are my children, right? Because it would be school and then this and then this, and it would be the end of the day when we came back again. And so I'm so grateful for those small moments during the day that I get to spend with my daughters. And they're such great teachers of patience and imagination. You know, many of my friends who have struggled with COVID, their imagination has gone to the what if, what if, what if, what if. And I really try to not just honor the spirit of possibility, but begin to think if then rather than what if, right? Because many people who do the what if game imagine horrendous things. And then they're too worried to live, you know?
True.
And
that's definitely true.
Yeah, I actually try to think more about if then. So if this happens, then what will I do? If this happens, then what will I do? You know, the other day I was driving and stop me like if I'm going on too long, but the other day I was driving my daughter home, and one of my youngest? Oh, yeah, my youngest, she's 11. She asked me, she said, Mama, everything is so unsure. What are you sure of? What's for sure, right? And I said, my love for you and the Holy Spirit. I said, my love for you and God. So that's for sure. And I said, whether or not you do digital online for all of middle school, or whether or not we have sweet potatoes or chicken for dinner, or whether or not the car will get us home, many things are unsure. But those are the two things that are sure. So I think that's important to focus on that.
Yeah, that was pretty deep for someone that age to even think, because there are probably a lot of children that are wondering, what is this? What's next? And I don't have it. All of my children are adults. I have a 28, 23, 21-year-old, and I have granddaughters. So for me, this pandemic looked kind of different. When I came home the very next day after I decided, I think I may have woke up about 10 o'clock and let my little dog out, I decided I was going to start this pandemic of positivity. So every day I chose a word, and I got on Facebook Live, and I talked about whatever that word was. And then I started calling people in my phone. I think I was calling maybe 10 people a day, just randomly. And it was always good to hear their voice. And what was even more surprising was when I called somebody, and I don't think I had spoken with him since I was like a teenager. But, you know, modern technology knows how to connect your phone through social media and through other access points. And when I called, he said, "Hello, Miss Carter." I say, "Oh, hey." Hey. So this has been such a positive pleasure for me.
Yes.
The only thing that I have not liked is I'm a music head. I've only gone to 2 concerts before all of this started. I normally get to see my grandchildren once a year. I don't think that that's going to happen this year. I haven't traveled this year at all. So business has been good, and I'm just always thinking of what my next level is, what it means to other people, because my next level for me is not just about how I can move up next. My next level is about how I can help other people grow into their next level.
Yes. Yes. I completely agree. I feel like one foot on the ladder up and one hand across to reach the next person to help them up as well, right? So, and I actually don't think that we do any success without a community of people. I know, like, as a first-gen woman who grew up way below the poverty line with no plan for higher education whatsoever, that I would not have a PhD if there wasn't a community of teachers who believed in me. If there wasn't people at church making food to feed me as a girl. Like, if that did not exist, I would not be where I am, right? So I completely agree with you that next level is never of the singular, never of the individual, never of, what can I do, but rather who can I support and serve, and what communities can be raised up. Because I don't think we rise unless we rise together.
Let's talk about some poetry, because that was me in my former life. I don't know last time I wrote poetry. So let's talk about some poetry.
Yes. I love poetry for many reasons, but one, because it's a place we get to say what we couldn't say in public, right? Like, as a survivor of assault, I have never been able to say out loud some of the things that I survived as a kid, but as an adult, I can write them on the page, and I can write back to that child and offer her love and support and compassion and grace that I can't actually give her in real life, right? So the possibility of the poem to be able to mend our childhood selves and to reimagine scenes, for me, is incredible. Can I read you one of my favorite poems?
Of course you can. That's why I mentioned it.
Okay, this is by Lucille Clifton. She was one of my teachers, and it's called Blessing the Boats. May the tide that is entering even now the lip of your understanding carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain that it will love your back. May you open your eyes to water, water waving forever, and may you, in your innocence, sail through this to that. I love that poem. That's Lucille Clifton. She's an amazing, powerful, fierce African-American woman poet. She was at St. Mary's, and she'd always write these short poems, and people would say, like, Lucille, why do you write such short poems? And she'd say, I have 6 children. I write while I'm nursing. I write when I have stuff on the stove. I love that, right? The mom poet is so powerful. That's one of her poems. I'm happy to read you some of mine as well.
I would love that.
Awesome. So I have 2 poetry books that are published. One is called What Enters the Mouth, which came out in 2017. And one is called Forgetting the Salt, which came out in 2008. In those 9 years in between, I had children. I wasn't just like lacking. And I have a third collection that I just finished called After Marriage that I'm hoping will come out in 2021. I was going to read to you a little bit from What Enters the Mouth. And that's a shortened version of the Gospel of John, right? Like, what enters the mouth will not defile you. That was, that was what I wanted to call it. And the publisher was like, no, it has to be shortened to What Enters the Mouth. So it's a collection of poems about all the ways in which I have survived assault and kept moving forward. So the poems are pretty intense. I want to read one to you called The Buck.
Okay.
I slip in the poison ivy patch, same one I slept in at 7 when night walking was easier than swallowing. Fords rattle by, gun racks shine in sun, church bells ring, noonday prayer. Fife and drum lines up, turns, marches towards the Capitol, trash bags squish with bug bombs in overgrown grass. Driveway, a sour tongue spitting out a half-chewed pinto on cinder blocks. I think of sliding underneath, calling for my brother to hide. But he stares, spits skull from behind the screen door, smiles when a buck charges beneath the clothesline, stops short before my ribs are horn split. My mother's blouse caught in the buck's tail. No, this is how it happens. The buck lifts my little girl ribs, displays me daily at my brother's feet. Broken screen door smacks with humid wind, the stench of all of us. So that's a poem that I wrote about growing up in colonial Williamsburg, Virginia. And I was trying to get across the idea of, what it is like to grow up wondering where you're going to eat, whether or not the lights will be on. And even while that's going by, all these other things are happening, right? The church bells are ringing and people are going to pray. And just really being a little girl whose body felt like it was an object for many people around her to use and change and have power over. And it wasn't until I left that house in Virginia that I really started to understand that I was made in the image of God and that my body was the temple from God, and that my body could be whole again. But none of that, was in my childhood space or brain.
That was very, very descriptive. Very descriptive. Great adjectives.
Thank you.
And I was just listening, wondering what was going to happen next, which was, as you were saying, how you felt, what's going to happen next, what is the next thing that's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think I was trying to say, I grew up and there were all these deer everywhere, and what happens if the deer are sort of in the household as well. I can read you another one if you like.
Sure.
This is called School Lunch. When I was little, I used to forget my lunch all the time as a kid, and I was really heavy. And so my mom would always give me things like Slim Fast shakes for lunch, and I intentionally or unintentionally would forget them. And I used to be, I'd watch what other girls were eating, and I was so jealous and excited because they had things like homemade bread and different kinds of lettuce. It was all incredibly beautiful to see as a kid, and so I wanted to write that about school lunch. And so when I would forget my lunch, right, the announcements would be like, today's the blah, blah, blah day, and now we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And so my given name is Sarah Beth. And so then they'd be like, Sarah Beth, come down and get your lunch, right? Because my mom would drop it off or someone would drop it off. So school lunch. Before the Bible verse of the day, my name called on announcements. Oh, Sarah Beth, come down, retrieve this. What I forgot on purpose, what Mama packed as duty. I would have traded my Slim Fast chalky chocolate shake, my Wonder Woman thermos. I would have sat closer to the spidery lunch ladies with their missing teeth, would have welcomed the burnt turkey smell, chewed old gum, married to blue cafeteria tables. Anything to see my monogram in lavender thread like lace on Sharon's napkin, hand-stitched, just to have the crust of the cucumber sandwich from her handmade bread, brown and seedy. I wanted to share that poem. I think, thanks. I think a lot of people over 2020 have been making bread. I don't know how to make bread at all. And my daughters and I have tried, and my oldest is much better at it than I am. But I remember thinking as a kid that homemade bread is like a deep sign of love and connection. And though I don't know how to make bread now, I'm constantly looking at cookbooks and thinking, how can I nourish my daughters, right? How can I make them food that will make them happy and help them grow and help them have a good relationship to their bodies and a healthy relationship to food, right? What will bring them joy? And how can I teach them to do that? And that's really something of this pandemic. A huge lesson for me is really to honor the kitchen and to connect to the kitchen and to think of the kitchen as a place of love and possibility, rather than let me pack this all up quick so that you'll be away from me for 12 hours and have enough to eat.
Right.
Food has slowed down, and I love that, actually.
There
Do you
are
make a lot of
probably
bread?
more people. Not me. My baby sister, she is I would say she would be the one. She is a stay-at-home mom a lot. A couple of years ago, her husband moved to Saudi Arabia for work, and she took her and her daughter and her two dogs, and she moved there, and she made a lot of things from scratch. Because life there is different, and when she came back home, she still practices making a lot of things. She can make bread. She can make bread, but she's learned to do other things from just scratch because she has the time to do these things. And I think a lot of it is now we're looking at time as the value point that it actually is. We're not wasting a lot of time anymore. Time has a value to us now, where before it wasn't so valuable because we never took a thought about we all get 24 hours a day, and we just wasted, generally speaking, the time. And now it's like, for me, I know I have 24 hours, and I'm trying to fit every single thing that I can do. Yes, I got to get up and go to work. I have my little time sliced out before I log into work. And then I know what I'm going to do for that 15-minute break. And then I know what I'm going to do for that 30-minute lunch. And then when I log out for the day, I know how I'm going to spend my time. A couple of days ago, I finally finished my Master Coach, Life Coach certification. Now, had I been wasting my time, I wouldn't have. I had been wasting so much time. I had been saying that I wanted to do it, and guess what? COVID-19 has allowed me to focus on valuing my time. But I'm not making bread. That's the only bread I'm making, some certifications and some business stuff, not making bread.
No, that's fabulous. I agree. Before COVID, I had this understanding of time where I would pack everything in, like so much, like one after the other, and then I would crash. And now post-COVID, and I'm still learning this different relationship to time, and I'd love to talk more about that. It's not just slowing it down a little bit, but it's creating some buffers between things, because I think I got tired of running. And I think I got tired of like activity after activity after activity, that even though I meditate in the morning and I am learning to practice stillness and slowness, that with COVID, not only has the value of my time increased, and not only have I been saying no to things that I don't want to do in that time, but that I have been trying really hard to create buffers between things so that when something extends in time, I'm not rushed up against the next one. And it's so funny that we talk about time because I've been like trying to do different schedules for the day and literally writing in breathe now. Literally writing in dream time. Literally writing in teach children about boundary time, right? Or even give thanks time, right? And that never would have been with COVID, right? Never. I would have been like, okay, now I got to drive the children, and now I got to make sure the thing is in the crock pot, and now I got to make sure the math homework got done, and did I sign the form, and did I lock the window, right?
Everything is going so fast. Everything is just like going so fast. But now we know how to manage, or in even some cases, micromanage how we wish to use our time, and even more to how to use our time efficiently.
And what to give our time to. Oh my gosh, pre-COVID, so many beautiful men got my time. now I'm like, okay, you can't just be beautiful. Like, really, I would give away my time not knowing how valuable it was, right? And now I'm thinking about giving it to myself. Now I'm thinking about being more particular about who gets to inhabit that space and time with me.
I just thought about my second book. And my second book that I wrote, Diamond Commitment, was me learning practices of being committed to me, because my thought is you can't be committed to other people, places, and things if you don't have the energy to commit to you. And once you learn how to commit to you, then the people, places, and things, they have that, they get a benefit from that. So there's a part of that talks about investing time in yourself. And generally speaking, women don't spend a lot of time investing in themselves. They're so busy caretaking for their children and their spouse, and doing everything except for them. And even at my age, I'll be 50 on next month, and I still have friends that are still spending a lot of time on everything else except for them, even in the state of the world. And I create this sign. I even made a sign to email to people. Do not disturb, and just go in the bathroom, put the do not disturb there. Take 10 minutes for yourself. Then 10 minutes turns to 15 minutes. 15 minutes turns to 10 minutes. And the more you learn to invest that time into yourself, it's better for your kids. It's better for your spouse. It's better for your employers. It's better if you're an employee. You're better to the people who you employ. It all comes down to, I value me. This is what I need for me. And this is what you need for me to be able to do.
And I was thinking about that too, right? Like, my daughters have seen such a change in 2020, but also a change with me in the past couple of years. And I was thinking about how you said I want to read your book, by the way, all of them, but definitely that one. I was thinking about how when you take time for yourself, you are giving to yourself and showing other people how to treat you. So when you value yourself enough to value your time, then other people see how you treat yourself. So I was thinking that how I connect to time and value myself and my time teaches my daughters, who are watching a single mom try to do many things, teaches them to value their time. Right? Like I think, I need to teach them how to drive the car, or how to roast the chicken, or how to write the poem. But But there's other things they're watching and learning that I didn't even know I was teaching. Right?
Direct and indirect.
Exactly. So they're watching, how does Mama use her time? Who does Mama give her time to? When does Mama treat herself well with her time? And then that will determine, in some ways, what time decisions they make. Right? So
yeah, that's
very...
That's a part of what I've been talking about in the Wanted Womanhood Symposium. Today is the final day of a 4-week series, and many times we as women don't even consider what we're teaching our daughters directly and indirectly, our nieces directly and indirectly, and what our mothers, grandmothers, our aunties, everybody taught us. There was often an exchange, direct and indirect. And many times, if we're not able to sift through the lessons, then we reteach the lessons or reinforce the lessons with the females that we're interacting with. Titus 2 and 3 speaks about how women, our older women, are supposed to teach a younger generation of women how to be women, and we are. And directly and indirectly, we are doing these things. So me at 50, I'm supposed to teach a 40-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 20-year-old, a teenager, and even my little granddaughters things about womanhood in little baby bites.
I need to learn from you. I think that's fabulous. Yeah. I think about that like I need to make sure they understand to read this book, or that they know this poet, or that that they begin to like really get their hands in financial literacy, so that they can be strong, powerful women in the world. But that I'm also teaching them about womanhood, and then I have to think about what lessons did I learn from my mama, right? Who did the very best she could with what she had. But there were a lot of lessons that I needed to work through and sift, as you say, so that I didn't repeat them. And that's interesting too about the next level, right? Like I tend to think like next level, like not just poetry project or community space, but it's also next level of womanhood, next level of lessons. I love that you say I'm going to teach a 40-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 20-year-old. Like I hadn't thought of that, right? I think like I got a 15-year-old in front of me who I'm trying to like really raise, and I'm so grateful for the people around me helping, and I'm trying to mend my own 15-year-old, and I got an 11-year-old, and I need to work on that. I hadn't thought about like the 20-year-old or the 30-year-old women, right, who are in my circles, who I am also showing through my actions and commitments to time and commitment to myself, how to be a woman.
So the other part of the exchange is I have 2 sons and a daughter, and my daughter is a baby, and she is 21.
Yeah.
She has taught me lessons based on there were things that, although I was raised by a grandmother, a great-grandmother, and a mother, she teaches me things. I guess she retrains me or shows me things that I hadn't even thought about or I had dismissed, because the trap of womanhood is we have to be strong and powerful and mighty and all of that, and that's good. We should be that. But there are things about womanhood that have been stripped from us. The nurture and the vulnerability and the kindness and the love. And all of those things have been stripped away from womanhood. And to me, that was a trade-off of being able to do the same thing that men can do. And, I mean, yes, I want to be able to do the same jobs, but there are some jobs that I don't want to be out working construction. I don't want to do that. I'm not her.
Right.
I don't want
Right.
to I don't want to be on the front line of a battleground. I don't want to do that. But if in the Fortune 500 job, if I have a job and the guy next to me, we doing the same job, I want to get the same pay because 9 times out of 10, I'm just as good, if not better, than he is. Because the other part of womanhood, we are constantly showing other people or proving to other people that we deserve to be here.
I agree. Absolutely. And I think, oh my gosh, and I don't want to do construction either. And I would fight my teeth's end to let any other woman do it. Like if there's a woman who wants to, then yes, absolutely. So just because I, as an individual woman, may not want to, I want every other woman who does want to be able to, right? The same is true with the battlefield. And we are constantly showing that we deserve to be here and constantly showing that we can exhibit the talents and strengths to get the job done. And whether those talents and strengths are vulnerability or fierceness or nurturing or strength, right, that we have all of those. Womanhood is so complex. And I love the idea of thinking about next level of womanhood and who are the women in my circle that I am teaching and who has taught me that I am grateful for. Both taught like in the classroom taught, but also taught like women at church or women in community that have been around me who have also taught me. That would make an amazing essay, actually, the lessons I have learned and the lessons that I offer.
Yeah. Those are things that we just don't think about.
Yeah. Wow. What do you think is the biggest lesson your daughter taught you? Because I know what you mean when you said your daughters teach you things. Like mine teach me a lot as well.
Well, since she's moved away, she's been gone for a year. And no matter how many times we talk, Mommy, you're not going to tell me you love me? So that is the lesson that she constantly reminds me of, to say I love you. But when I do say I love you for real. So it's not something that I often say because it's real for me. When I say it, I love you. But for me, I'm learning that that's what she likes to hear from me. Although she knows that I love her, she likes to hear me say, yes, Pinky, I love you. And then other times she tries to get me to say, you're my favorite. Blink 2 times, Mommy, if I'm your favorite. So she has taught me the love piece in a different way.
Yeah. My daughters, that's so beautiful. My daughters have taught me to be grateful and to love the body that I'm in. My oldest is an athlete, and my youngest is the musician, but also very physical and present in their body. So they've taught me a lot about body acceptance. They've also taught me a lot about technology because, children now are so much smarter around that. But they've also taught me that that they are paying attention to this world that we are in and that they do want to make it better. So though I haven't said to them, what's the next level for you? Or what do you want to be? They do have a focus. Like my oldest the other day said she really wants to help people have clean water. And she reminded me that there are 800 million people, or maybe it's 8 million, I can't remember, a huge amount of million people in the world who don't have clean drinking water. Right? And I've never had a conversation with her about clean drinking water. But she's just picking that up from chemistry class, from watching people, from the news. And she's like, this is a problem, Mama. Right? And so while I have wanted the girls to have a social justice mindset, they also have a real sense of whatever contribution they make to the world, it must shift it towards the joyful and the better. It must come from a solutions mindset. And I'm so grateful that they learned that lesson, even though I didn't know I was teaching them that. Right? That's an important thing.
So we only have a few minutes left, and I always end with a couple of questions. Okay. What does your next level look like?
I love that question. My next level, I was just thinking about this today. My next level includes reflecting on the lessons that women have taught me, the ones I had to sift through, and the ones I wanted to repeat. My next level includes yoga certification training. I love yoga so much. And I'm really also interested in the Jay Shetty life coach certification. I don't know if that's the one you just finished as well, but I'm super interested in that. And my next level is really establishing intense financial literacy and moving towards being a renter to buying a house, because I've never bought a house before. And my last next level is really helping young women trust the writer within them. So whether that means high school girls or more college girls, but it's really helping each and every woman I find to trust the writing creative spirit in their heart.
And my last, well, not my last question, but what are the 3 things that you wish for the listeners to take away, whether they're hearing this now or they hear this in the future? What are the 3 takeaways?
Oh, the 3 takeaways. Takeaway 1, the practice of gratitude can be both a habit and a discipline that opens your heart and your life. So the practice of gratitude can be both a habit and a discipline that opens your heart and your life. So that's takeaway 1. Takeaway 2, the creative spirit can be accessed every day, all day long. So for those of you who are at home and working and trying to help your kids and do all the domestic duties, sneak away and access the creative spirit, or while you're nursing, write the poem. So really reach towards your creative spirit. And number 3, we've talked about so many things. Oh, I think number 3 would be mind who you give your time to, and ask yourself if you've given it to you. So mind who you've given your time to, and ask yourself if you have given it to you. So gratitude, creative spirit, and time, and the value of time.
How can the listening audience find you on social media and over the internet?
Oh, awesome. The listening audience, can find me at www.sarahjeffress.com. So that's SARAH.JEFFERIS.com. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, all at Sarah Jeffress. And I am also, you can email me at Right Now. That's the name of my business, because I believe we can access the spirit of writing right now. So that's write.now.sjeffress, JEFFERIS2 So they can email me. They can look on the website at sarahjeffress.com, or Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been incredible.
Not a problem. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for rocking with me this afternoon. Be safe.
Yes.
Cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze. The ultimate act of self-love is to stay in the house. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. I want to see you all when this world opens up because I'm going to be catching up on all of the traveling that I missed. So join me next Saturday on Next Level with Trenace. As always, I love you, be authentic, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Let us not be ashamed to ask the good Lord to walk with us. In every situation, whatever you may be going through, don't be ashamed to ask the good Lord to walk with you. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. I need Jesus to walk with me while I'm on this tedious journey. I want Jesus to walk with me. Hold my hand, Lord. Will you hold my hand? Yeah. Hold my hand, Lord. Will you hold my hand while I'm on this tedious journey? That's why I want Jesus to walk with me. In my trials, will you walk with me? Yeah. In my trials, will you walk with me? When my heart is almost breaking, all I want Jesus to walk with me. You see, I will lift my eyes to the hills from which cometh my help, and my help surely coming from the Lord. And the Lord is that shade up on the right hand. The Lord shall preserve that soul, that coming out and going in. For this time